everybody, I'm Babs, and this is White Knowledge is Power, Understanding Racism in America and Why White People Should Know Black History. Today, I'm going to talk about the first Black student that integrated the famous flagship University of Mississippi, the University of Mississippi, otherwise known as Ole Miss in Oxford, Mississippi. That student's name was James Meredith. Meredith was born in 1933 in Mississippi and was fondly known as J-Boy by his family. He served in the U.S. Air Force from 1951 to 1960, so over the course of 9 years. He then went to study at Jackson State University for 2 years. In 1961, after being inspired by a speech given by President John F. Kennedy, Meredith applied to attend Ole Miss, even though it had only admitted white students, even though it was a state-funded university, and Brown v. Education had been passed in 1954 that stated that segregation of public schools was unconstitutional because they were supported by all taxpayers. He found himself denied admittance twice based on his race, and he filed a lawsuit against the school, eventually ending up in front of the Supreme Court, who ruled that he must be allowed admittance for the fall session. He was admitted and ready to go. Great, right? It was a win. Well, the town and the university were not pleased with the court's decision. The day before Meredith was supposed to start classes, he came to campus escorted by hundreds of U.S. federal marshals for his safety. He'd been assigned up to 500 marshals just to protect him on this campus. Leading up to Meredith's first day, the governor of Mississippi, Ross Barnett, spoke out at an Ole Miss football game, encouraging action on campus to block Meredith's entry. The governor was a publicly avid segregationist and did nothing to help Meredith integrate onto campus. As Meredith arrived and was escorted to his dorm, a group of 3,000 rioters arrived on campus, and the highway patrol were trying to keep the crowd pushed back and keep some semblance of control, but the governor dismissed them at 7:25 p.m., and by 7:30, the mob, led by a former Army Major General, Edwin Walker, who had been forced to retire because he refused to stop sending out racist hate literature to his troops, broke out in full swing. So a mere 5 minutes after the troopers, the highway patrol was dismissed, chaos descended. The rioters consisted of high school students, college students, KKK members, Oxford residents, and people who traveled from out of town to participate in this riot. By 9 p.m., the riot turned extremely violent. The marshals had run out of tear gas, and the rioters were throwing rocks and bottles, shooting. They tried twice to drive a stolen bulldozer into the marshals. The streetlights were shot out. Laboratories on campus were raided for supplies to make Molotov cocktails. A rioter commandeered a fire engine, and they set fire to police cars with officers still inside. At 11 p.m., the governor issued a radio address egging on the crowd, saying, "We will never surrender." The next morning, early, on October 1st, 1962, the mob was finally quelled by thousands of soldiers that had been ordered in. In total, up to 30,000 troops were deployed, alerted, and committed to Oxford to help throughout this entire incident. Over one Black man trying to go to school. 300 people were injured, including 2 murders, a French journalist named Paul Guichard and a 23-year-old jukebox repairman named Ray Gunter. Meredith attended his first class the very next day, and it was an American history course. The Mississippi legislature and a Lafayette County grand jury conducted investigations into the riot and ended up blaming the marshals and the Department of Justice for the violence. So no one was ever held accountable. In 2006, a statue of Meredith was dedicated on campus, and in 2008, the site of the riot was designated as a National Historic Landmark. If all of this sounds way too familiar, you're not alone. While this incident only happened 61 years ago, another violent insurrection even more recently has happened in our nation with ever-present and growing consequences that we are facing each day. To ignore the truth and to ignore history does nobody any good and doesn't provide any service to anyone or anything. To ban history, to block knowledge, to run and hide from the truth is devastating to our nation and to our future. We must fight for truth. We must fight for knowledge. We must fight for accountability. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, share, and most importantly, let's end racism together.